back to part 3 of Day 9 Daily number 326, where we have the extra special guest star Destiny showing us some Zergling Infestor usage throughout the game. We're going to take a look at a really fast game where essentially Destiny just wins with a timing push, because for a lot of you who always want a good time to attack, we're going to give an example. So let's go ahead and pop over into the game, Dr. Destiny, and we're just going to ×4 this. So I'm already at 10 seconds, and 20, and 30. I hope you're synced up. But we see you on, I think this is Twilight Fortress or Zelnaga Fortress. I'm bad with the names of the Korean maps because I only recognize them and play on them. I don't know what they're called. So we see that Huck is just going to be going for a pretty standard gateway at the front, and there's the spawning pool going down for you, per usual. And we're going to see him open with a really fast Stargate, so can you talk a little bit about your logic in terms of defending that if he goes for a 1-base Stargate, as opposed to the 2-base that we saw against WBC?
It's pretty much the same, just a spore on each base, and I think it should be fine. I think 1-base Stargate openings are actually really bad. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It just doesn't seem like you gained very much early on with that early Stargate play, but I don't know.
Well, we're going to see that you pretty much don't take very much damage. Spine Crawler popping down right now. And because you were doing... actually, this is a little bit of an earlier one Spine Crawler, but I'm also seeing in your production, like, no Zerglings at all. A fairly fast layer as well, and it looks like you build... is it 2 Spore Crawlers at each base?
Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen 1-base Stargate before, so I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't want to risk a whole bunch of Phoenix or 3 Void Rays flying in and me getting caught with only 1 Spore, and all of a sudden I've lost the game. So I figure just the 2 Spores at each base kind of keep me safe.
So I'm actually going to pause it at 9 minutes. So we've essentially seen you hit the same spot. You got a really early +1. That's perhaps the most notable difference thus far. Can you talk a little bit about the +1?
I had the Evo Chamber really early. I hate building buildings and then not using them, so I figured if I got the Evo Chamber really early, I might as well just start grabbing, the melee attack right now. On the off chance that something really weird happens this game and I don't have the minerals to build a second Evolution Chamber, at least I've started my upgrades on 1. So say, like, we get into some really weird, like, big army tradings, or he's doing a really all-in-ish build, it's not like, oh, shoot, like, I can't throw it on my second Evo and now I have no upgrades at all. It's like, okay, well, I got 1 upgrade, but maybe I can just upgrade out of 1 Evo Chamber for a while, you know?
You're not going for any sort of timing with the upgrade, because, I mean, personally, my all-time favorite upgrade in the matchup is the +2 melee upgrade, because then Banelings kill workers in 1 blast. That's my favorite thing in the whole world. But this is just sort of a general, I'm going to get the upgrades early because I can.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, pretty much.
So I'm going to be popping back, and like you said, it gives you those extra options. Also, I'd like to note that in terms of the worker production, you're still stopping a little after 40. Second Evo Chamber, we see the pathogen glands come up. The only thing that's really different is that you have seen 5 Phoenixes get produced in this game. You have seen now that he has an expand. And also, because the Infestors are so valuable, any lift from Phoenixes that kills off maybe 2 or 3 of them seems like it would be almost a devastating loss, right?
Kind of. Actually, the Phoenixes are really, really, really good for me. You're accurate in that the liftoffs would be devastating, but if you open up with 1-base Stargate, your Robotech is probably going to be a little bit delayed if you're still building, as you should be, if you should be grabbing sentries and whatnot to stay safe. So when I burrow those Infestors and send them to the base, those 5 Phoenix can't lift anything. He's not going to have the observers to be able to see him. So the 5 Phoenix make me feel really, really good, because when I start dropping my infested Terran bombs and I start linging his base out, that's however many hundreds of resources are invested in something that's not going to help him at all in surviving that attack.
So let's see exactly how that goes down. I'm going to be resuming in 1, 2, 3 play. I was paused at 9 minutes. I sincerely hope I told you. We see the path.
×4 still?
Yeah, I'm at ×4. We're just blasting through this one so we can get to the game between you and Time. And you have everything rallied back behind the Spore Crawlers. We see the Burrow popping up. We see the +1 going down. Seems like everything's pretty ordinarily timed. And there's the Infestors popping out right now. And in the meantime, Huck has himself a lot of blink. He's getting Templar Archives. He's extending to try to take a 4th. and I'm actually going to pause it now at 12:15. Looking around the Protoss base, he just has a ton of gateways. He has 7 right now. Nothing in terms of any detection, and we're just going to see. I'm actually going to slow it down to just regular old faster. 1, 2, 3, play. We see you still continuing to take your 3rd and likely a 4th in a moment, but you just waltz to the front, lob a billion infested Terrans, and here they come. There they are popping out. The Zerglings roll on in. And this looks like one of the most rewarding games that one can play in StarCraft 2.
Yeah, if you go for this kind of stuff, maybe Protoss through 4 gates might feel this way.
And is this a sort of typical win, or is this just unusual because he had such a late robo?
Unfortunately, this can actually be pretty typical if they're not responding well or if they're not ready at all for your first push.
Yeah.
I know that you said earlier that you hate to use the term DPS. I'm trying to think of a different way I can say it.
So fine,
Protoss
say
gateway
it.
armies.
It's okay.
Protoss gateway armies lack the ability to deal a lot of damage to large numbers of troops until they have Colossus out or Psionic Storm out.
Yeah.
So if you lob 50, if all of a sudden 50 infested Terrans enter the game right next to an army that can't deal with a lot of units, and then a whole bunch of 1/1 Lings come in afterwards, like the Protoss has no safety. You know, typically the Protoss' safety from Lings is Force Field, but Force Field becomes worthless once the Lings, you know, or in this case the infested Terrans, have the ability to shoot over the Force Fields. So, I mean, if the Protoss isn't really ready for what you're about to do, this strategy can take a really, really easy win. And honestly, in my game against Wanna Be Cool, I think it pretty much happened the same way. It wasn't quite as devastating, but that first attack, if they're not ready for it, just knocking out a base super fast can be a really, really, really quick and easy win against somebody.
So we've seen 3 games thus far that have had Destiny doing really, really easy wins, or excuse me, not really easy wins. One really easy win that we just saw. We got the chance to see 2 other wins that were a little bit longer games. Now we're going to look at a loss game of you versus VvV Time, where the attack doesn't quite go as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And again, I wanted to note one thing. I actually personally stripped all the text out of all these games, so it's not that players are just silently duking it out and then leaving without a word. Just in case any of you were like, OMGBM, oh my god, I'm freaking out. All right, Dr. Destiny, I have your game loaded up. Are you ready to rock?
Versus VvV Time?
Yeah, time. Time.
I'm grabbing it. What does VvV stand for? Just curious.
I don't know. I always read it as and it's so fun to cast. I remember I was casting a game with VvV Murder, and I was like, Murder, and it was the greatest cast ever. And time at the left. Do you have this game up yet? Or are you trying to patch?
I'm what?
No.
I'm loading it up. Hold on.
Okay. Because I will say, the one thing that was terrifying to me is that when I was like trying to test this beforehand, like Blizzard had just updated StarCraft 2, which meant that all my replays were like 0.3, 0.4 games. And it used to be the case in XSplit that when it updated to a new game, or when it updated the version of StarCraft 2, it would just completely break the recording. So you would get no video recording. So I was just like, uh-oh. So I tested it today, and it's all good. Shazam. Shabazz!
I'm all loaded up now, I think.
Alright, I'm going to set it to ×2, and 1, 2, 3, playing it. So we have you at the south, we have Murder, no time, at the left. And it looks like you're going to be opening with your usual shenaniganry. I'm actually going to ×4 it just now. And just speed that right along. We see him building a pylon in his main base, nowhere near his ramp, as a matter of fact. Which means that you will be almost guaranteed to get those Zerglings in. There's the spawning pool going down. There's his gateway popping up as well. And the gas geyser. And tell us a little bit about what you think went wrong in this game and what to look for as we're sort of leading up to the final part.
This is actually, by the time I got into this game, I'd actually gotten my build refined quite a bit more. I'd gotten a lot more comfortable sitting down on the 3rd, 4th, and the hive immediately. The thing is, when you make that first attack, it's like the ultimate scouting information. If you lob 30 infested Terrans at the front of the Protoss' base, how he responds dictates where he's going to go for the rest of the game, or tells you where he's going to go. If he's got Colossus shooting on your infested Terrans, obviously he's headed the Robo route. If he's got Void Rays or whatever, like, you'll 100% know what he's doing.
Yeah.
The intelligent response, I think that it's impossible to beat my build, or this build. I think it's impossible to win using robo units or Stargate units. It's just way too hard for the Protoss if the Zerg micros correctly. But some Protosses will try to do it anyway, and if they do, you have to be ready with Ultralisks, and you gotta have your Hive Tech. You gotta be ready with Ultraling Infestor. And I think my mistake here was that I threw down a Roach Warren and I just assumed that he would go Templar, and then I end up getting rolled by a totally standard, just a robo-oriented army because I just wasn't at all ready for it.
So we see you now having your plus everything. It looks like you're just getting to do exactly what you want. Here comes the Overseer. And honestly,
It's also a very painful moment of this game. You'll feel the pain when you see it. It'll hurt you in your heart.
I'm going to pause it. I'm at 10:20, and I'm actually going to slow it down to ×2, and then resume in 1, 2, 3, play! We see that you have not yet taken your third. We have a bunch of Stalkers coming out. I'm looking for the pain, believe me. I'm looking for it. One thing
you don't have to... You'll know it.
Alright, okay, that sounds good. One thing to note, though, is that... Time actually has quite a bit more money than he should at this point, which is why I think it's a particularly useful example, because if Time could have improved his build a lot, like we see him just now floating over 1,000 minerals, considering how much his build could have been improved, you can clearly see that, like, if you make this mistake, it's very easy to lose in Destiny's position. And there's the Infestors coming forward. And I'm going to slow it down now, so I'm at 12-12, 12-13, and we see the huge attack force getting lobbed, and we see most of your Zerglings don't move in. And there's the blink back. But it still looks like this is doing a decent amount of damage. Well, ooh. Oh, those are good force fields! Whoa! Oh, I think I found the thing that hurts, Destiny.
Are you gonna feel it? You won't feel it until it's done, until the attack's over, and you'll feel it.
Uh-oh. I think I know what's gonna happen.
You mean what's not gonna happen?
Oh, that sucks. Oh!
Yeah.
Oh! Oh! Ugh. Okay, so you're sad at this point in gameplay. Yeah. You're very upset. In terms of the damage done, it looks like, though, you haven't actually lost that much more. And even if I come to the Army tab, it looks like you do have a little bit more worker. You have a slightly smaller Army supply. I'm going to move it back up to ×2 and resume in 1, 2, 3, play. We see...
And again, really great thing about the strategy, even if you don't do a ton of damage, you're still in a good position because you got your Hive and you've taken 2 more bases behind it.
Yeah. And do you feel like these bases were late, or that these bases were on time at this point? Everything just looks a little different upon the loss of all those Zerglings and then those Infestors up at the top side.
Maybe. I'm also not as far ahead as I should be because that base really should have died. I should have targeted it down early with the Infestor Terran Zone. It was just barely not dying. As you can see, I do have my Spire on the way, though, and I've also got my Roaches out because I'm all ready for his Templar-based army. I'm going to work towards Greater Spire for the Archons, and I'm going to work for Roaches because I know he's going to have a lot of Storm. But that doesn't happen at all.
So he just waltzes out with a big Colossus force, and at this point in time, I'm looking at the unit counting station. You have, I'm actually seeing 75 drones instead of the usual 60. If you were expecting the Colossus, would you have just not made those extra drones and just gone Zergling
Nope.
Infestor? Or is it the
just
Roaches?
Zergling Infestor.
Is it the Roaches right now that are the big issue?
Well, the Roaches are entirely worthless. I don't like Roaches at all in dealing with this comp. I think I just needed, if I just hammered out a bunch of Lings and Infestors, especially, I mean, you saw my game against Ace, trying to attack into a Zerg with his high ground right here makes bungling and neural parasiting incredibly easy. Just massing out Lings and Infestors here is almost a guaranteed win, especially on 4 bases against that army composition.
Yeah, I mean, as you were talking about earlier in that Hut game, the Colossi just deal so much damage that if you don't have a good way to disable them, it's just a little too rough. And also, I note that your opponent has the +3 Psyblades upgrade. Do you think that had a big impact? Because if I come back to the game, you're at 2-2, it looks like. 2-2 up... No, you're at 1-2. Yeah, 1-2 upgrades. Do you think that played a significant factor in that final battle?
It may or may not have, but I mean, if I was looking at this replay and analyzing it, I would not care what my upgrades were, because my big mistake wasn't in having the upgrades. My big mistake was responding to a counter that wasn't coming. More upgrades might have helped, but what I really needed was just more Lings, quicker Ultralists, and Infestors ready to deal with that counterattack. That was the big error there. But I mean, I'm sure the upgrades helped him a little bit.
So what we're going to do now in this final piece, part 3 of the Day 9 Daily, we're going to be taking some questions from you, the wonderful crowd. So I'm going to load up Markio's question grabber, and I'm going to start the question grabbering, and it should be started now. Now you can begin to ask questions. And I guess one question that I would pose to you, Destiny, is what do you feel like is the biggest strategic hole in the build where you're focusing most of your improvement on?
I really feel like it's solid in a lot of different ways. I feel like it's really hard to I don't see any ways that this build just straight loses except for super hardcore meta game openings. Like an example of an opening that would destroy this build that unfortunately I have ran into before is somebody rushing a robotics facility to get an observer and then rushing High Templar to feed back the first 6 infestors that come to your base. So, I mean, yeah,
I'm trying to think of a situation where someone else would also do that.
Yeah, one situation could possibly be in the FXO King of the Hill where I played against TT1 and he rushed an observatory, or he rushed out observers and then got High Templar super fast, and then got +2 ups on the Zealots super fast. So like a hardcore meta opening.
He's been working on that style a lot. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's super strong, especially when the opponent builds 1 roach. You know, yeah. But yeah.
Well, also, we have a question from Sushbag, who says, wouldn't a mass Blink Stalker player just trade down by blinking in and killing off Infestors? Doesn't Protoss come out ahead if he keeps trading in this manner? And Zerg has no units to remass with until later. I mean, I've seen you encounter this a couple of times, but tell us a little bit about how you deal with Blink Stalkers.
Fungal and Lings deal with it easy peasy. It's no problem. Fungals and Lings will destroy mass Blink Stalker.
Even if he does something like control it really, really well and blink past and try to pick off the infested Terrans, do you ever feel like there is a way that he could like optimally control it? Or does it just feel like...
If you try to blink past and pick off infestors, you're going to end up trading about 5 stalkers for every 1 infestor, which I think favors me because all of my gas is being sunk into infestors and I got tons of Lings behind it. Because if 5 stalkers blink forward, they're going to die to Lings almost instantly. You might be able to pick off an infestor before they die, but then they're going to die, immediately after.
And I also kind of as a as a follow up, as opposed to against Blink Stalker, what about against just Terran in general? In fact, almost half the questions it looks like are, what happens when you fiddle around with this in Terran? Do you have any just like brief words? Because I assume that would be like another daily's worth of stuff.
Yeah, I use a similar opening versus Terran, but the matchup is completely different. You're dealing with a completely different set of units, and everything is different about it. So, I mean, the opening that I use is superficially similar, but everything is different about it.
All right. It is totally different. Let me see. Here's a good question from I3UU. We talked a little bit about this in the daily. Who says, as a Zerg player who struggles around the 10 to 15 minute mark, I never know when I should end droning. How would I know when to stop droning, and are there any tricks to counting drones? And also, I want to follow this up a little bit. I mean, essentially the only thing I've really emphasized in this daily is you tend to stop around 40 drones before you begin your
44 is the ideal number. 44.
Yeah. And after that, though, we've seen you sometimes go up to 60, sometimes go up to 75 or even 80 in these games. When do those phases of picking up the drones again and then sort of dropping off with them again? I mean, part of me feels like if you're intending on making a lot of Zerglings, that you kind of need to start the Zergling production a little preemptively because Zerglings en masse are just sort of mediocre. You need like lots of Zerglings to be good. I basically asked about your drone timing. I'm still rambling on as I'm looking at more questions.
Yeah, I don't know. The Zergling thing is kind of a separate question. For the drone timing, all of my pushes come off of 2 bases. I'm not going to do anything before I have 2 bases, and I'm not going to make any... And nothing's going to happen before 2 bases. So if I'm on 2 bases... In a perfect game, I would make 44 drones before ever making a single Zergling or Spine Crawler or Spore Crawler, In an ideal world, you're going to make all the drones you ever need before you make any offensive units if you're not going to do anything with them. You need to be efficient with your units. So what I'm looking to do is I consider it kind of ideally saturate my 2 bases before I do anything else. So 2 drones per mineral patch is what I aim for, and 3 drones on gas.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's 44 drones, 16 per mineral in each base, and
Yeah.
then 3 per 4 geysers or whatever. A trick that I use to kind of check my saturation constantly, because it's something you should always be aware of, is if you just double-click a drone in a mineral field while you've got your base selected, you should see 2 full rows of drones plus 4 more. So that would show you 20 drones. Some people might think, why not plus 6? Because you need 3 in each extractor, and the reason is because 1 drone is going to be hidden in each extractor when you double-click.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's totally awesome. I'm coming by. I'm double-clicking on your drones in this game.
Yeah, and then the second time to drone is after that first big attack when you're on 4 bases. Usually after my first attack leaves my base, I'll start droning behind it.
Yeah, just like a round or two, not that many, just getting like an extra 20 or so.
Depending on what happens, yeah. If I like, say I go in and I kill a third and a natural, I'm probably just going to be massing units, because at that point the Protoss has to feel like they have to all in me. Well, if they take huge damage, then I'm going to be expecting an all in, maybe even a pro pull, with warpins to come behind it. So I mean, I might unit up after that, but for the most part, yeah, just like 1 or 2 rounds of drones while attacking.
Sweet. And with that, Destiny, thank you for sharing this ZvP style with us, as I'm certain Zergs are just going to completely stop Roach, Hydra-ing and do all Destiny all the time. And I have, I guess, one final question. What was your inspiration for coming up with this style, where you have oodles and oodles of infestors and nothing else?
I don't know. I don't know.
Just sort of ended up there
I pull a
from
lot
playing
of different ideas from a lot of different areas. I mean, I'm trying to think of exactly where the mass infestors came from.
It might have been just you.
Maybe. I mean, I obviously in joining Root, I played with Cats a lot, so
Oh yeah,
I was able to a lot of ideas from him.
that man lives infestors and crazy games, like every game.
Yeah. Yep.
And of course, do you have any final shout-outs? Where can people find you if they want
I
to
stream on Justin TV dash Steven period Bonnell period II. I'm on Team Liquid as just Destiny. And yeah.
There you go. Anything else you'd like to say before I close it up?
Thanks for having me on. I encourage people to look for new ways to play matchups and don't get too hung up on one particular style, because the metagame is always changing.
Yeah, well stated. Always continue learning. Yeah. All right, Destiny, with that, you're muted. Bam! He doesn't exist anymore. That has been Day 9 Daily number 326. That is the start of Zerg Week. Tomorrow we're going to be taking a look at Sen's Zerg vs. Zerg, because as you know, in the recent NASL Grand Final, he managed to take down both OGS Xenio and StarTale's July Zergs. We want to give him all the credit we can while siphoning all the knowledge we can. Also, Friendday Monday for last week has just been moved to the next week. So for any of you who are wondering where all that creep spread style Zerg play is coming up, just wait till Monday. For any of you who didn't know, the Friendday Monday topic is to submit a game where you play Zerg and may only fight on creep. So including Mutalisks, including ground units, including if you want to cast a spell, you'll be dropping some creep on there. It's going to be good. Submit that to Monday at day9.tv. Zerg Week will just continue into the Europe Week. Those games will be in Europe Week. Everything will be broadcasted live at 10 a.m. PST, 7 p.m. CEST. So 7 p.m. if you live in Europe. And I guess 6 p.m. if you're in London. Yeah, that's going to wrap up the daily. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you so much. And with that, I shall leave with some music.